Hi there, it's Anne of Rosy Duck Designs here. Thank you ever so much for joining me today. I'm carrying on in this tutorial with using the new in colours. In this instance, I'm just going to be using one of them, so the polished pink. I love all of our new in colours, but this one in particular is probably no surprise that I'm drawn to the bright pink one, but I really think for this particular card it really highlights the dragonfly that I'm going to be using. Now I've gone back to the dragonfly that I featured in my tutorial last time purely because it has a coordinating punch, and I think particularly when you're starting out with crafting, as much as the die cut machines are amazing, they're quite a big investment, whereas punches are a lot more reasonably priced, and yet you can get some really good effects using them. And it's fair to say that there are a number of stamp sets in the catalogue that coordinate with punches, which is absolutely brilliant. And we're going to be looking at those as the weeks go by and featuring them. But I thought I would just go revisit the dragonfly. So I have cut my piece of white card at 8 by 6 as usual and scored at 4 on the long side. I will put the link to a blog post up that will have all the measurements, both for the in inches and in metric, and also the products that I've used. It's probably easier than me trying to just list them underneath the video. So I haven't written that yet, but I will put the link on the front of this video as soon as I have done that. I'm featuring on this card a piece of the In Colour Designer Series paper, and I'm going to go with this side. So let me just stick that on the front. We have very strange weather going on, bearing in mind it's the middle of May. It's been raining a lot and heavy gusts of wind, and now I'm noticing out of the corner of my eye a bit of sunshine, so who knows what's going on. But I think it's one of those days where you actually want to be inside, and if you can be inside crafting, that's even better. So there's the front of my card. I'm going to keep the inside of my card very simple, and I'm just going to add a little bit of a strip of the DSP at the bottom there, which I'm going to match to the front. Again, I've cut this at 1/2 inch by 4.5 inches, just so that I can make sure it fits properly, and then just trim the edge. I just find that's easier, just in case your measurements are slightly out. They're not going to be way out, but that a tiny bit of white that could be showing at the other end can be a little bit, draws your eye to it. Not the recipient's eye probably wouldn't be, but you as the crafter, it sort of suddenly looks like, I don't know, a 6-inch gap. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. So let me just trim that off. I'm not going to add a sentiment to this card. There are some lovely sentiments in here, but I think sometimes it's really handy to just have a little batch of cards that are all ready to go but don't actually have a sentiment. So you could use that just as a plain note card to send someone a message, or at the last minute grab hold of a stamp that's applicable and your ink pad and just add the sentiment that you want. So that's where I'm going with that. On the front of that, I'm going to be using a piece of white card that I've cut out using some dies that are new to me. These are the Stitched So Sweetly dies. Having lost my ever faithful layering ovals from the catalogue, they have not left my desk, so I'm sure they will still be getting well used in my personal cards. But as I say, I always try to show you current products, because it's frustrating when you see something and you think, oh, I really want that, and then somebody says, oh yes, well, you can't have it. So I've had a look through the catalogue and I came up with these, and I think that they're gonna suit me quite well, I think, because I quite like these little shapes here, which will be good sentiments. And then also you've got a selection of the oblong dies. Now, using the largest one, I've cut a piece of white card out, which leaves me with that piece of card to work on. If you haven't got a big shot or a die cut machine at the moment, the measurement of that piece of card is 3 by 4 inches. So you could just get yourself a little piece of card cut out to those measurements and use that in its place. Alternatively, if you've got the detailed trio punch that we featured in the tutorial last week, you could just tidy up the corners of your piece of card and just round them off. This is a really handy punch to have because it just enables you to add that little bit of extra detail to a piece of card that you might be using on your projects. Now I'm just going to leave it like this this time. Last week I said I was going to do that and then promptly cut this bit out, but I'm seriously not going to do that this week. So let's start with the actual piece of card that I'm going to use, and then we'll just come back and finish that one off that we haven't used a die cut machine for. So I have my D block here. I don't know why, I just happen to prefer this. There's two dragonflies. I prefer this one, don't ask me why, but I'm just going to stick with the one I like. I've got my ink, and what I want is a focal dragonfly, so I'm going to put one in the middle. So I want a complete dragonfly. Now obviously there's not going to be enough room to fit any further complete dragonflies around on that piece of card, so we're just going to add some dragonflies flying off in different directions. Go whichever way you want, where you want them to go. There's room for about, I think, 5. Beyond that it would get a little bit overcrowded, I think. They all seem to be randomly facing inwards, so I think I'll stick with that idea for this last one rather than him standing out on his own. There we go. So that's my piece of card that I've die cut. Now you can do exactly the same thing with one that all you've done is rounded the corners off. So again, we'll go with our main image in the centre. Try not to be quite so uniform with these ones. Oh, there we go. And I need a piece of, just a spare piece of white card that I'm going to stamp another dragonfly onto. And while I've got my stamp and ink out, let's just do the envelope. So we can stick one down here in this corner, and then one over here in the other corner. And that's it as far as any stamping is required. Put that to one side. Now we're going to get our punch, and it punches out the large dragonfly which matches the stamp, but there's also a tiny dragonfly which is nice if you can just punch that out using any designer series paper or other plain pieces of card, and it just gives you a very small pretty little dragonfly to add to your projects. Just trim this piece of white card so it fits in the punch. So with the punch upside down, we can line up our image. Now I'm just bringing that together, but I'm not actually applying enough pressure for it to cut the card. I'm just wanting to make sure that I've got it where I want it to be before I apply the pressure to punch out the image. Ideally I could have done with a bit of a longer piece of card so that I could move it around, but of course, you know, let's make life difficult for myself. So much more fun, isn't it? That will do. As you can see, that's cut out another little dragonfly. You always add a little bit of colour to that and use that, or as I say, it works really well if you're cutting it out of some pretty designer series paper. Of course I'm going to get Wink of Stella out. It's totally rude not to, isn't it? So I'm going to just fill in across my dragonfly, and that will very slightly blend the colour. Just giving it that sort of pink hue as well as some sparkle. This one might be coming to an end. But as you can imagine, I have plenty in stock. Now I'm only going to be adding Wink of Stella to this dragonfly that I've cut out using my punch. Tempting as it is for me to add it to all of them, but I'm literally going to stick with that one. Taking my, forget the name of this thing, this piece of equipment, I'm going to bend up the dragonfly, so putting that across the middle of the dragonfly, bending it up so that its wings then start to fly. I've got a few of my in colour gems left, and I'm just going to grab one of the pink, polished pink ones, and put that on the body of my dragonfly. And then I need a small stamping dimensional that I'm going to put, actually I think I'll probably go with 2 just to make sure it's secure, just along the body of the dragonfly. squashing it down again. There we go. No, we don't go. Actually, there we go. There we go. Right, but it's because it's already folded, it will just bend back up like that. Now I've left the backing on because I just want to show you what I'm going to do with it. I'm just going to place it over the central complete image of my dragonfly. So taking this piece, you would do exactly the same thing. And it just gives that lovely effect of it flying away and almost like a shadow underneath. So that's what your card would look like if you used just the rounded off corners, and that's what's wrong with that? Absolutely nothing. That looks pretty. All we're doing with this particular piece of card here, we've just got possibly prettier edges, but at the end of the day, the butterfly, sorry, the dragonfly even is the star of the show. Now I'm going to raise this up on here, so I want some more stamping dimensional, so I'm going with the larger ones. And it's come back to me. It's called a bone folder. I'm going to put a piece of paper up somewhere on my desk because it's something I use every day of the week, but for some reason what it's called goes out of my brain, particularly on a Friday. There we go. I knew if I sat here long enough it would come back to me. Make sure we put the dragonfly up the right way. That's always is a good plan. So I'm just centralising that on the front of my card, and then I'll just take off the backing of these little mini stamping dimensionals. Fold up the wings a bit more, remove the cat hair, and just place that over the top of that central image. And that is our completed card. And obviously that will work with the other in colours. As I say, I just felt that particularly when you're trying to film something, I just thought that the polished pink would really sort of pop, the colour would pop. So hence that's why I've gone with that choice. So I hope you've enjoyed that little ideas of how you could make a very simple card, and how just by investing in a punch you can just bring your cards up to that extra level, a little bit of extra detail. So as I say, I will put a blog post link when it's written on the front of the video. On my blog you'll find details about the current joining promotion, which is absolutely brilliant up until the end of the month. Instead of getting £130 for your £99 starter kit cost, you'll actually be getting £154. So not that much time left to take advantage of that, but have a look on my blog and you'll find all the details for that. There's also a really good hosting promotion as well, which runs through to about the middle of June, and you will find details of that again on the sidebar of my blog. And the link to my shop will also be on the front as usual. If you've enjoyed the video, I would certainly appreciate a thumbs up. If you'd like to subscribe to my channel, that would be brilliant. That way you don't miss out on future tutorials. Even if the tutorials aren't that good, there's usually a laugh or two involved where I mess things up, but I always say I make the mistakes so you don't have to. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me. Just one final thing, there is obviously a new catalogue that went live at the beginning of this month, so if you'd like a copy of that, if you don't have a current demonstrator that you buy from here in the UK and would like a copy, then just please do use the contact me link at the front of this video. You can also download a PDF version of the catalogue from the sidebar of my blog. So again, head over to my blog because that's where all the information is. So I'll be back very soon with another tutorial, but until then, thanks so much for joining me. Look after yourselves, and I will see you again very soon. Bye for now.